To watch these important lessons, subscribe to DP Education's YouTube channel right now. Click on the bell icon to stay updated on the latest lessons. Sri Lanka's largest free online school, DP Education.
Right, my dear children. So we have came to the last part of the question paper. So here we are going to answer the 8th and the 9th question of the 2022 O-level examination paper. Right. So my dear children, let's see like what are the questions given for the question number 8 in this question paper then. So the question number 8, my dear children, here you can see a leaf and the upper part, I mean the part A, the first 3 questions is related with the some kind of plants and the reproduction related to plants and so on. So here this part is asking about the classification of the plants, like about they asking about the venation types, then the root arrangements and so on. So this is a biology part related to the plants, my dear children. Okay, so this is plant biology. This question, whole A part question, is created by using the plant biology. Then part B, here you can observe, my dear children, a bicycle which is running from a motor and a battery is there also. So power and voltage is given related with the battery. Then also asking about the energy transformation, then operation of the electric motor and the other stuff. So you can clearly observe that this is from physics, right? This is from physics, my dear children. So the question number 8 is going to reflect about the plant biology lesson part and about the physics part, like in here. Okay, so my dear children, this is the 8th question is formed by using the biology and physics areas in our grade 10 and 11 grade 10 and 11 study areas. Okay, so let's head on to see the questions, my dear children. We'll answer the questions, and like in the previous chapters, finally we'll give out the marks for the correct responses, right? And let's then answer the first question onwards. We'll see how to answer the questions then. Okay, so a study was conducted by a student on the home garden and the outer environment of his home situated in a rural area. Answer the following questions related to the phenomena identified by him therein. Both the papaw plants in the garden had produced flowers, but of the 2 plants, only one plant produced fruits. Explain the reason for this. Now, papaw is a dioecious plant, my dear children. Right? Papaw is a dioecious plant. What do you mean by a dioecious plant? Dioecious plant means, my dear children, in a separate plant there are male flowers, and in a separate another plant there are female flowers. So by the help of animals like small insects, the pollination occurs. And because of that, in a one particular plant only, right? In one particular plant, plants that carry gynoecium flowers, okay? Or else we refer those things as pistillate flowers. There are 2 types of flowers, staminate flowers and pistillate flowers. Gynoecium is the female part. So flowers that has the gynoecium plant will produce the fruits, okay? Okay, then the flowers that has stamens, staminate flowers, right? Those things will not be able to produce fruits, because you know that during the reproduction of plants, we studied that ovary becomes the fruit. So ovary is included in the gymnosperm, right? It is the one which is included in the it is the one which is included in the gynoecium of a plant flower, right? So when you take the gynoecium is the female part of a flower, which includes the 3 main parts, style, stigma and the ovary. So in the gynoecium, my dear children, definitely you can observe the plants or the flowers that has the gynoecium definitely will carry the fruits. Okay, so that's the reason why this one plant produce fruits and the other doesn't. Okay, it's mainly because of when you take the two flowers, one is a staminate flower and other is a pistillate flower. Okay, so we can write Papo plant is a dioecious plant. Therefore, staminate flowers are born in one plant and pistillate flowers are born in another plant. So we can write the answer like this, because, right, because Papo right. So this is the answer. So because Papo is a dioecious plant, male and female flowers born on two plants separately, right? So this is the answer. Next one. Though jasmine plant grown in the garden produces many flowers, those flowers do not produce fruits. Hence, state an artificial vegetative propagation method that could be adopted to obtain new sapling from jasmine plant. So, jasmine plant, my dear children, when you take the jasmine plant do not produce any fruit. So, it's difficult, or else seeds, it's difficult to propagate, right, by using natural propagation methods. So, therefore, we can carry out artificial propagation methods like layering. Ground layering is much better for jasmine. In here, we are, like taking some kind of a stem part which is closer to the ground, and introducing a small cut. Then we are inserting it to the ground, then closing by using some amount of soil, then allowing it to root. That's what do you mean by the layering. So especially this is referred to as ground layering, because jasmine is a plant that that do not grow much above from the ground, somewhat closer to the ground level. So therefore, we can use jasmine as a good example for ground layering. Okay, so ground layering is a good example, or is a good answer for the artificial propagation method of a jasmine plant, ground layering. Ground layering. Right, so the answer for the first question, my dear children. So why does these things are born? Why does the two plants are, when you take the two pepper plants, why does the one plant produce fruit and the other doesn't? It's because mainly when you take these two plants, right, these two, pepper is a dioecious plant. So therefore, my dear children, one plant produces female flowers and the other produces male flowers. So the male and female flowers are born on two plants here separately, right? Separately. Right. So this is the answer for the first question. Remember, there can be dioecious plants, there can be monoecious plants as well. Okay, what do we mean by monoecious plant? So monoecious plant means in the same plant there is male flowers and female flowers in the same plant itself, like coconut. Okay, but however, papo is a dioecious plant. That's why we can identify like this kind of an incident. One papo plant produce fruits while the other doesn't. Okay, it's because the pepper plant is dioecious, which means male and female flowers are born on two plants separately, right? Then the next one, for the jasmine, the best method of artificial propagation is ground layering. Okay, right? Then we'll head on to see the next question. It was observed that the stamens of the flower Clerodendron paniculatum, right? Clerodendron paniculatum, which is pinna or the pagoda plant, in the garden are turned away from the stigma. So stamens are turning away from stigma. Stigma is a main part of female reproductive system related to a flower. Stamen is the male part related to the, right, female male part related to the reproductive system in a flower. So male and female parts are now turning away from each other. This is like having an adaptation to promote cross-pollination, right? So actually it is pinna, right? Pinna plant or pagoda plant promotes the cross-pollination method by using the special adaptation called the extrose stamens. The definition for extrose stamen is the one which is given over here, right? Locating stamen somewhat away at certain distance from the stigma, my dear children. Okay, so this adaptation, the importance of the adaptation is to promote cross-pollination, right? So it helps to promote cross-pollination. Right? It helps to promote cross-pollination. This is the answer. Next one. When a small animal stain on a plant leaf was observed by a hand lens, jointed appendages. That means definitely this animal should be an arthropod, right? And a segmented body could be seen. Name the phylum. Simple, my dear children. Phylum is arthropods. So arthropoda, right? Arthropoda. Arthropoda is the answer because jointed appendages, segmented body can be seen in arthropods, right? Next one. In a fallen plant leaf, fleshy parts were decayed while the veins were left. Diagram of it is given here. By what name is this venation is known? So when you look at the venation, my dear children, it's quite simple and clear to us. This venation, the veins in this leaf, my dear children, turn in here and there, travel in here and there, all over the surface of the plant leaf, which means this is showing a reticulate venation. So our answer for the question, my dear children, is reticulate venation. Reticulate venation, right? Within the whole surface of the plant leaf, veins are running here and there. All over the surface, the veins are running, right? So this is called as the reticulate venation, my dear children. Reticulate venation. Next one. Describe briefly the nature of the root system of the plant with these leaves. So you need to answer the or you need to describe how the root system has been arranged within this kind of a plant, right? If you take the root system, my dear children, right? Root system is somewhat different. There are actually two different kinds of root system. One is a fibrous root system and the other is the taproot system with fibrous roots. So reticulate venation, plants that has reticulate venation, these plants are having taproot system. So they have a taproot or else a main root with lateral roots. Okay, so we can write the answer. These plants have a taproot system so these plants have a taproot with lateral roots, right? This is the root system related to a plant that has the reticulate venation. Okay, next question then. It was observed that an animal with 4 limbs staying on a decayed log had a moist skin without scales, moist skin. What is the class of vertebrate to which this animal belongs? If it is having a moist skin without scales, then my dear children, that should be an amphibian. So answer should be amphibia, right? Amphibia, class is amphibia. Okay, this is the class, amphibia, right? Next one. So question B, diagram illustrate an improved bicycle. It is constructed in such a way that it can be pedaled by a man as well as run by electric motor. So there is an electric motor over here. So it is operated by the battery, and also the person who is going to use this bicycle can pedal it too, right? So this is a modern bicycle, my dear children, electric bicycle. Okay, now we'll see the questions then. Write the transformation of energy that occurs when a man pedals the bicycle. So when the man is pedaling the bicycle, the energy in our body, from what kind of a place do we get energy? Like from what kind of substance? Is there any kind of a special thing that we receive energy from? Of course there is. We eat food to get energy, my dear children. So the energy which carried in the food is the chemical energy, right? That's the chemical energy, no? So chemical energy is the one which is stored within these food items. So chemical energy is getting converted here to what energy? To kinetic energy, my dear children, right? So chemical energy to kinetic energy. That should be our answer. This is the energy conversion that occurs within this instance. So chemical energy this is to kinetic. So chemical energy to kinetic energy. This is the energy transformation that occurs when the person is pedaling the bicycle. Next one. Write the transformation of energy that occurs when the bicycle is run by the motor. So if the bicycle is going to run by the motor, right, you need to write down the transformation of energy that occurs when the bicycle is run by the motor. So energy transformation, you need to write down the energy transformation that happens when the bicycle, right, when the bicycle is running through the motor. Let's see. So if the bicycle is running through the motor, my dear children, the motor is operated from the battery which is in here, no? Battery is getting operated because of, or battery is getting worked because of the chemical substances contained within the battery. So once again, my dear children, battery creates electricity by using the chemical substances, and then that electricity is given to the motor, then motor convert that energy again into kinetic. So we can write the answer, the energy transformation. First of all, chemical energy, right? Chemical energy is the energy stored in the battery. Turns to chemical energy turning into electricity inside the battery, right? Electricity in the battery. Then it's getting converted into kinetic energy. this is how the energy transformation happens when the bicycle is going to run by the motor. So first of all, motor is operated from electricity, no? So to get electricity, the battery should convert the chemical energy contained within the chemicals inside the battery into electricity. Then that electricity is being provided to the motor so that it will convert that energy into kinetic energy. Okay? Right then. Voltage supplied to the motor by the battery is 50 volts. So the voltage supplied to the motor by the battery is 50 volts. While the maximum power of the motor is 250 watts. Okay, so voltage supplied to the motor by the battery is 50 volts. Maximum power of the motor is 250 watts. What is the current drawn from the battery when the motor operates with this power? So the power is given as 250 watt. That's the power. Voltage is given 50 volts. Question is asking what is the current drawn from the battery? So there's a small bit of a formula to calculate the power, my dear children. A simple formula. Power related to the electrical equipments is measured from the product between the voltage and the current. That means power P is equal to voltage into current, P equal VI. Power given 250, right? 250. 250 is the power. So current, that's the one we need to find. So we don't know I. 50 is given as the, right? 50 is given as the voltage. So divide both sides by 50 then to get the answer. So current is equal to, like I said, I told you when I was doing those previous questions, I told you it's not important to substitute units for these things. You just substitute the numerical values, but when you are writing down the final answer, make sure to put the unit. So 25 over 5 is equal to 5. Current is measured from amperes. So 5 amperes is the answer, my dear children. 5 amperes. Okay. So when the motor is going to operate at this power 250 watt, if it is given with 50 volt of voltage, then the current passing is equal to 5 amperes. Okay, 5 amperes. Right, then the question, next question, part B. The capacity of the battery is indicated as 10 Ah. That means 10 amperes hours, 10 ampere hours. This means that the battery gets fully discharged in 1 hour when a current of 10 ampere is drawn from it. When the current calculated in A above is drawn, what time is taken by the battery to discharge it completely? So there's a certain battery, no? So the battery is being marked as 10 Ah. This means, my dear children, if 10 amperes of a current is being drawn out from the circuit, right? If 10 amperes of current is drawn to the circuit or to the motor, then the battery is working only for 1 hour. That is, what do you mean by 10 ampere hours? It can provide 10 amperes like up to 1 hour. Usually when you take mobile phones, day-to-day mobile phones, so these mobile phones also measuring the capacity of the battery by using these ampere hour thing. Actually, they have milliampere hours, mAh. mAh means milliampere hours. Higher the milliampere hours, right? You can use the battery for long time period. Milliampere hours, right? So in simple, my dear children, if a certain battery is indicated with 5000 mAh, 5000 mAh, it means 5000 of milliamperes, right? If 5000 of milliamperes is drawn out by the certain circuit, then, my dear children, it can be used for 1 hour. 10 Ah means 10 amperes is given out. If 10 amperes is given out to a certain circuit, then the battery is going to last only for a 1 hour. Now in the previous question, let's take the previous question, we took the answer as 5 amperes. So my dear children, if 10 ampere works for 1 hour, if 10 works for 1 hour, if 10 ampere is going to work for 1 hour, see the relationship in here, my dear children. That's the main important thing, right? Sometimes you might take it like this. Then 5 amperes, it should be half. We need to divide this one by 2. Then we need to divide that one also by 2. No, but this is totally incorrect. If 10 amperes high current is drawn out from a circuit, right? If 10 amperes current is drawn out to a certain circuit, if so, we can use it for 1 hour. Then what will happen if the current is going to reduce? Definitely, what will happen? The time that we can consume, or the time that we can use the battery will definitely increase. Okay, not decrease, but it will increase. It will definitely increase, because if it is working for like 1 hour when giving huge amount of current, then if I'm going to reduce the current flow by half of the by like half, or else if I'm going to half the current given, then definitely the time that can consume is going to increase, right? So my dear children, answer for this question should be, right, should be 2 into 5, sorry, 2 into 1, which is equal to 2 hours. Or else you can just include as 2 hours, right? 2 hours. 2 into 1, or else you can divide 10 by 5. Because 10 for 1 hour, this is the current that we have right now, 5 amperes. So divide 10 by 5, answer is equal to 2. Okay, 2 hours. 2 hours. Right, then the next one. If the total distance that can be traveled if the bicycle is run only by the motor at a constant speed of 30 kilometers per hour at its maximum power until fully charged battery becomes completely discharged. Quite easy, right? We found out that we can work the motor for about 2 hours. The question is telling that it runs at 30 km/h minus 1 constant speed or constant velocity. So we know that velocity or else speed equal distance over time. Speed is equal to distance over time. That means, my dear children, distance is equal to, we do the cross multiplication, speed into time. Now what do you need to do? You take the speed 30 km/h minus 1, multiply it by the answer previously, 2 hours. Hours to hours getting cancelled. Answer is coming from kilometers. 30 times 2, 60 kilometers. 60 kilometers. Right. Next one. Suggest 2 eco-friendly methods that could be used to discharge the battery if this bicycle without using the national electricity grid. So you need to suggest 2 methods to charge this battery without the usage of the national electricity grid. Okay, without using national electricity grid, you have to mention 2 methods to charge the battery of this bicycle. So there are 2 methods actually there are several methods like 3, 4, but however mainly we can use 2 different methods. Number 1, using sunlight. Okay, using sunlight or using solar cells right? Like that we can recharge. Then number 1, using solar power. Using solar power, within brackets, sunlight. Or else, my dear children, you can use wind also. But however, rather than that one, you know that when the bicycle is moving, then that kinetic energy can also be used to recharge the battery. That's how does the hybrid vehicles are working actually. When the vehicle is running from the engine, the battery is getting recharged. That's how it works, right? Then the engine is going to stop. Then the energy stored in the battery during the working of engine is being supplied to the wheels so that it would rotate. Then again, when the battery drains down, again the engine starts. Then the vehicle is running through from the engine. During that time period, the battery is also getting recharged. Then when the battery is getting fully charged, engine is getting turned off once again. Then battery is providing electricity to battery is providing energy to the wheels so that it would run. That's how the hybrid vehicles are working, my dear children. Okay, so here the energy, right, which is the kinetic energy stored in the bicycle during the motion, can also be used to recharge the battery. Okay, so using the kinetic energy in bicycle, when it is moving. Right. So these are two proper methods or two best method to recharge the battery in the bicycle. Okay, we can use solar power or sunlight, or else we can use the kinetic energy in the bicycle when it is moving. Okay, right. So my dear children, we have answered the 8th question then. So now let's see how to give marks for these things. Okay, so I'll be there with you with the marking scheme to give out the answers, give out the marks then. Okay, marks for the answers. Right, my dear children, now I have with me the answer script. So let's head on to the beginning of the lesson, right? Beginning of the question, lesson part. Okay, so beginning question is over here, starting from here, part A onwards. Now let's see how to give out the marks. So for writing down these answers, right, for the explanation of the power plant incident, you will be receiving 2 marks, right? 2 marks for the explanation of power incident. Then next one, for the ground layering thing, the best artificial reproduction method for a jasmine plant, you will be getting 1 mark, right, for that 1 mark. Then next one, for writing down the cross-pollination, the promotion of cross-pollination, you'll be getting 2 marks. 2 marks for that one. Then for writing down the arthropoda, you'll be receiving 1 mark. One mark for arthropoda, right? Then for the reticulate venation, the answer 1 mark again. Then my dear children, for the describing of the root system, right, having lateral root system and the taproot system thing, you will be receiving 2 marks. Be receiving 2 marks for this one then. Then my dear children, for mentioning the answer as amphibia for the animal class, moist skin and without scales, you'll be receiving for this one 1 mark. Then my dear children, next question, the energy transformation in the bicycle, you'll be getting 1 mark for this one. Then energy transformation that happens within the bicycle when it is operated from the motor, once again for this one you'll be getting 1 mark. Then my dear children, next question, for the calculation. So for the calculation, you'll be receiving 2 marks. For the formula or for this application, you'll be receiving 1 mark. Then for the answer with the relevant unit, you'll be receiving 1 mark, my dear children. Okay. So altogether 2 marks. Then next one, for directly mentioning that this thing has 2 hours, will be receiving 2 marks. 2 marks, right? 2 marks. Then for 60 kilometers, directly they have given 2 marks. Directly they have given 2 marks for 60 kilometers. Here, kilometers are very important, the unit. Then my dear children, finally, for writing down 2 answers or for 2 different methods in using this recharging process, they have given 1 mark each, 2 mark, 1 each. So altogether 2 marks. So this is the way of giving marks for the questions. Okay. So altogether there are 20 marks, my dear children. Okay. Okay then. Right, my dear children. So now it's time to answer the next question. Question number 9, the final question, right? So this final question, here, my dear children, you are given with a certain question over here, the part A. So it's asking about the salt extraction, sodium chloride. You know that salt extraction is related to the mixtures lesson in grade 11, which is a chemistry lesson, right? So after that, it's asking about some questions related to the electrolysis of acidulated water. Then, my dear children, in part B, asking about the Archimedes principle, right? So Archimedes principle is related to the hydrostatic pressure in grade 10. So this question, question number 9, or the final question, is related with physics and chemistry parts. Okay. So like in the previous questions, for these 2 parts, for the question number 9, my dear children, you'll be receiving 20 marks. So this 9th question is made up with physics and chemistry. Okay. Right. So let's answer the questions then. Right. Extraction of common salt, sodium chloride, from seawater is a chemical industry carried out in Sri Lanka. So you know that in like areas like Hambantota, Putlam, like those areas, there are large amount of salterns, right? So salt is being extracted within the salterns, my dear children. So this is based on the salt extraction, the industry related to the salt extraction then. So state 2 environmental factors that should be present in a location suitable to install a saltern. So if you need to install a saltern, now you know that in Sri Lanka, the entire country is surrounded by the ocean as it is an island. But however, salterns are located only in certain areas like Hambantota and Putlam. In Colombo, we won't be able to observe a saltern, even though some area of Colombo is surrounded by water, seawater. It's mainly because there are certain geological and environmental factors that we need to consider when setting up a saltern, my dear children. So the first question asking, what are the environmental factors that we need to consider? So you need to write down, right, 2 environmental factors. So when you take a saltern, my dear children, the land which is being selected to the saltern should be a flat land. Okay, it should be definitely a flat land. Then the other thing, the rainfall should be very less. There should be high amount of sunlight and wind throughout the year. So these are the environmental factors. Very simple. So we can write the answer. Land being flat. Land being flat. Then, my dear children, high winds, comma, good sunlight. Throughout the year. Then, area with minimum rainfall. So I have written 3. So land being flat. Definitely the selected land should be a flat land. Next one, high winds and good sunlight throughout the year. Then area with minimum rainfall. Okay, only you need to write down 2 responses, 2 correct responses out of the 3 which is over here. Okay, right. If you want, you can break down this thing into 2 parts and write down 2 different things as well. Having high amount of winds, having good amount of sunlight throughout the year, like that way. Right then, name the 2 separating techniques related to the extraction of salt from seawater. Now, when extracting salt from seawater, we use 2 different methods. One thing is evaporation, my dear children, not vaporization, because we are not heating up to its boiling point, right? Heating up to its boiling point and vaporizing water is referred to as the vaporization. It's not vaporization, it should be evaporation of water, evaporation of seawater. So evaporation means at a certain temperatures which are somewhat lower than the boiling point, right? We can remove the liquid. We can remove the certain solvent or the liquid. In here, it's a liquid water, right? We can remove water somewhat lower to the boiling point of water. So that's evaporation, right? So actually what happens here is the evaporation, not the vaporization, not the vaporization. So remember, it should be evaporation. Then the other method is very simple, my dear children. So we crystallize the salt finally in the solvent. So it is crystallization. Next one. Crystallization, right? Crystallization. So these are the 2 methods, crystallization and evaporation, right? Okay, then the next question. Salt taken out from the saltern is heaped into a prismatic piles and kept for about 6 months. What is the reason for it? So, you know that the salt that we take, we are making into prismatic shapes and storing for about 6 months. This is mainly to remove the substances, right? There are some impurities actually, right? Magnesium chloride and magnesium sulfate. So these impurities should be removed from the heaps, right? Salt heaps. So that's why we are making into a prismatic shapes and stored for about 6 months, my dear children. Okay, so main idea or the main important thing in storing this salt like into a prismatic shape for about 6 months is to remove the impurities like magnesium sulfate and magnesium chloride contained within the salt. Okay, so we can write the answer. It helps to remove impurities. It helps to remove impurities contained in salt. right? So there are several impurities. Actually, there are two impurities. So it helps to remove the impurities contained in the salt. Okay. Next one. Some countries in the world obtain drinking water by simple distillation of seawater. Draw a suitable labeled sketch of an apparatus suitable to demonstrate the separating technique in the school laboratory. So, we can take potable water from seawater by using simple distillation, my dear children. So, you need to draw and show a sketch of simple distillation. So, when making simple distillation or during the process of simple distillation, you know that we'll be definitely needing a stand. Then, my dear children, right, like this way, we need to fix a Liebig condenser. So, first of all, we'll draw the diagram related to the vessel, my dear children. So, this is the vessel then. Okay. Then we'll insert the delivery tube from here like this. Then we set up the Liebig condenser. Okay, the Liebig condenser should be like this. Right. Then we need to fix the Liebig condenser now. So the stand. Then finally the vessel over here to collect it. You know that we need to heat the water. We'll be needing another stand for here to keep it. Then to heat the system, we'll be needing a Bunsen flame like this. Okay. So when you are drawing a certain figure, it's important to name these. So this is the Liebig condenser. This is the vessel, right? So flask, round bottom flask. Bunsen burner. Then these are the stands. It's important to draw out and label the stuff, okay? So remember to label the stuff, my dear children. Otherwise, you will be not given with the full marks. Remember that thing, okay? So we'll be needing a vessel, right? Then a Bunsen burner to, heat up the water. So this is seawater. Seawater. This is pure water. Then we'll be needing a Liebig condenser, right? Then we need to heat up the system. Then while it is getting heated, vapor is coming out to the delivery tube and getting collected to the vessel. You know that salt is not a, like it's not getting vaporized quite quickly as it is available as a solid. So we can collect water, pure water to this system by using this method. Okay, right. So this is the system there. Okay, next question. During the electrolysis of acidulated water, it was observed that gas bubbles liberated at electrodes. At which electrode is a greater volume of gas evolved here? Very simple, my dear children. During the process of electrolysis of acidulated water. Acidulated water means now we need to add some amount of acid into the water. So it's getting separated into two ions, H plus and OH minus. H plus ions are getting converted into hydrogen gas. OH minus ions are getting converted into oxygen gas. Hydrogen has a very lesser density, right? So hydrogen is a lightweight gas. So therefore, a large amount of hydrogen gas is getting produced within a very short time period. So more amount of or more volume of hydrogen can be observed. So the answer should be hydrogen gas. Okay, so they are asking about the, not about the gas, they are asking about the electrode. Okay, so hydrogen gas is produced because of hydrogen plus ions. Plus ions are getting attracted to the negative terminal. So this is created at the negative electrode. Negative electrode. Right? Negative electrode is the answer. Next one. What is the gas evolved at that electrode? Simple, my dear children. Hydrogen gas. Hydrogen gas. Right. Next question then. Write Archimedes principle. The Archimedes principle. So now we have come to the final part of the question. Part B, related to the hydrostatic pressure. You need to write down the Archimedes principle. Archimedes principle, when an object is fully or partially submerged in water or in a fluid, right? When an object is fully or partially submerged in a fluid, upthrust acting on the object is equal to weight of the fluid displaced by the object. Right. So, Archimedes principle, my dear children. When an object is fully or partially submerged in a fluid, instead of fluid, you can use water also, no problem. Okay. So, when an object is fully or partially submerged in a fluid, upthrust acting on the object is, equal to weight of the fluid which is displaced by the object. You know that when we are submerging objects, right, in a fluid or in a liquid, some amount of water or some amount of fluid or some amount of liquid is displaced out. So when you take the weight of this amount of liquid which is displaced, that weight is equal to the upthrust acting on the object by that particular fluid. This is the Archimedes principle, my dear children. Right. When a rubber ball pressed to the bottom of a reservoir with water at rest was released, it could be observed that the ball moved to the surface of water. Action of which force on the ball is the reason for the above observation? Very simple. When you dip something like a rubber ball or plastic ball, and when you remove the hand, it will automatically comes up. It's mainly because of the upthrust, which is the force acting against the sinking of an object. Upthrust is an object. Upthrust is a force, my dear children. It is always acting against the sinking process of an object. Okay, that means against the sinking direction, the upthrust is acting oppositely. Okay, so sinking means we are pushing it down. No? So to the opposite direction, that means to upward, it is acting. Okay, so action of which force? The force is upthrust. Upthrust. Next one, state two factors on which the magnitude of the force you mentioned above depends. The two factors which the upthrust is going to depend on. Number one, from liquid to liquid, upthrust is going to change, mainly because of change in the density in the liquid, okay, or density of the fluid. So the first one is density of the fluid. Right, density of the fluid or else liquid. Then next one, my dear children, you know that yes, immersing a certain ball, no, or else an object. So volume of that object is also important, right? Volume of the object. This is the second factor. Density of the fluid and volume of the object. Right, then the next question. A submarine-like kind of a thing is given here. Let's see, what are the questions? Figure illustrate an equipment with a gas chamber and a tank to which water can be filled. Using the device P, water can be filled into and removed from the tank. The figure shows how it stays floating in water when water is filled to a certain volume of the tank. Okay, so there's a gas chamber, there's a tank to which the water can be filled, then there's P, like a switch kind of a thing, then there is water like this. Based on the forces acting on the equipment, explain the reason why the equipment stays floating in water. Simple, my dear children. Why it is staying floating in water? Because the weight is getting equal to the upthrust acting on the object. If the weight and upthrust are equal, then it's not sinking to the bottom and it's not going up, staying like this kind of a position. So we can write the answer because weight of the object is equal to upthrust given by the liquid or given by water. Because weight of the object is equal to upthrust, right? Upthrust given by water. Upthrust given by water is equal to weight of the object. This is the answer. Right. What change in the position of the equipment will occur if an extra amount of water is added to the tank? So there is a certain tank over here, no? What will happen if you add more water into it? If you add more water, then mass of the object will get increased and it will sink even more in the water because the upthrust will not be able to handle that weight. Okay, or else the upthrust will get reduced, right? Because actually it's not getting reduced, but the weight is getting increased. That's why upthrust remains the same, but the weight of the object that's getting increased than the upthrust. That's why the object is getting sinked, right? So we can write the answer. The object will sink more. The object will sink more. Right, next one. In terms of the forces acting on the equipment, explain the reason for the change which you mentioned in B. So like I said, my dear children, here the weight of the object, right, is getting increased, and because of that the object is getting sunk in the water, more sunk in the water, because over there when increasing the weight, right, than the upthrust, more downward force is applied than upward forces. So therefore it tends to go downward. So we can write the answer, because weight of the object will increase than the upthrust. Right, because weight of the object will increase than the upthrust. This is the answer. That is why actually it will sink more in water, right? Name a craft that has been created to travel on the surface of water and inside water. A craft that is created. Like I said, when I was starting the question, I told you like what kind of a figure was that. There is like a submarine. So answer for this question should be, my dear children, submarine. Submarine, right? Submarine should be the answer. Right. Right, my dear children. So we have answered all the questions related to the question number 9 also. Okay. So my dear children, we have answered all the questions. Now let's head back to the starting position, and we'll give out the marks for each of the question correctly. Okay. Right. So I'll be coming with the marking scheme then. Right, so we'll mark out the questions. We'll give out the marks for the each correct answers according to the questions given here then, right? Okay, my dear children, so I have the marking scheme with me right now. Let's do the markings then, right? So for the first question, they're asking, write 2 environmental factors in a Saltern. So 2 environmental factors, if you have written 2 correctly, then you'll be receiving 2 marks, right? 2 marks. For any 2, you'll be receiving 2 marks. Then for the 2 processors, which is used to extract of, which is used for the extraction of salt, you'll be receiving 2 marks. 1 each, okay? 1 each. Then the next one. So for the next one, it helps to remove impurities, right? The reason why these things are arranged in the prismatic shape for about 6 months, to remove these impurities, you'll be receiving 1 mark for this answer. Then in here, my dear children, for the figure, my dear children, there are 3 marks for using this particular for using a particular method to heat up the water, you'll be receiving 1 mark. Like it can be a Bunsen burner, spirit lamp, or whatever, right? If a heating equipment is added like in the figure, then you'll be receiving 1 mark for drawing out this thing and marking it. Then my dear children, for the Liebig condenser, of course for the Liebig condenser they have given 1 mark. Then my dear children, at least one marking out of the instruments given in here, right? They have given again 1 mark. So altogether for this diagram there are 3 marks. Okay, 3 marks. Next one. So for the negative electrode they have provided 1 mark. For the hydrogen gas they have given again 1 mark, my dear children, right? 1 mark each. Then for stating this Archimedes principle correctly, they have given 1 mark, right? 1 mark. Next one. For the second one, right, for writing down the answer as upthrust, they have given 1 mark. Then for writing down 2 factors which the upthrust depends on, they have given 2 marks separately, 1 each. Next one. For writing down these forces, I mean like for writing down the definition like this, because the weight of the object is equal to the upthrust. For this definition, they have given 2 marks. 2 marks. Then my dear children, for the next question, for writing down this object will sink more in the water, they have provided 1 mark for this correct response. Then for the explanation, they have given again 2 marks, right? 2 marks given. Then finally, for the answer submarine, they have given 1 mark. So these are the marks. This is the way, or this is the order of receiving marks for the question, my dear children, right? So my dear children, we have discussed all the questionnaire parts related to the 2022 O-level paper. So I hope that you guys got a good knowledge about answering the questions for the O-level test, and I hope that you guys will score a good amount of marks, right, for your school tests and as well as for your O-levels. So I hope that you guys got a good knowledge about the 2027 or 2022 O-level structure, O-level paper, about the structures, about the questions, and about the marking scheme, and about how to how to get the marks when writing down the correct answers. So now it's time to wind up this session, my dear children. So I hope that you guys got a good knowledge about the paper discussion. So until we are going to meet again with another paper, now it's time to say goodbye then.
To watch these important lessons, subscribe to DP Education's YouTube channel right now. Click on the bell icon to stay updated on the latest lessons. Sri Lanka's largest free online school, DP Education.